Okay, so in this video or in this lecture, we are going to study the reliability of audit evidence. So basically, the audit evidence is nothing but it is a proof to prove the independent opinion of an auditor. Okay, so a reliability concerned whether there is a likelihood of coming the same answer when either the audit test is prepared or information is obtained from different sources. So basically, it is nothing but whatever the audit evidence you are going to collect, it should be reliable. The auditor must be dependent on those audit evidence. So it is called reliability or reliable audit evidence. Basically, all the evidence which is given by management is considered as a reliable audit evidence. Okay, so when entity produce information, an evaluation should be undertaken to ascertain whether the information which is supplied by the company is reliable for audit purpose or not. If it is reliable or sufficiently reliable or trustable, then only that audit evidence can be considered as reliable audit evidence. Okay, so basically the audit evidence, okay, which is not sufficiently reliable, all those audit evidence should not be considered by the auditor. So various methods for obtaining audit evidence. So what are the different methods? First one is inspection. So basically in the inspection the auditor is going to inspect. Okay, inspection is refers to checking all the document records and physical assets. So reliability of these documents or records depends upon the nature and effectiveness of internal control. How internal control is good, how internal control is significant to the audit, that needs to find out by the auditor. In this process, it is nothing but it is called as inspection. Second one is observation. So basically it's another method of obtaining audit evidence. Okay, in this method auditor involves or auditor to look the process or procedure being executed by others. This method can exemplified by the auditor's presence to the client or physical stock note. So it's observation where auditor is going to be present in front of the client and they are going to evaluate the stock, okay, or various information in front of the auditor. That is called as observation. Okay, next one is inquiry and confirmation. Okay, basically these are two aspects, inquiry and confirmation. Basically whatever the information which is received by the auditor has to inquire it and then he has to confirm it. Okay, so basically these two things are very important, inquiry and confirmation. Okay, so this is the third method of how a auditor can obtain the audit evidence. Next one is computation. Now what is computation? What is computation? Basically, it's a method of obtaining evidence. Okay, involves the examination of arithmetical accuracy of sources, documents, and accounting records. Basically, the auditor is going to compute all the accounting related information together. He is going to collect the information. So it is called computation. Next one is analytical review. So basically this method involves conducting a study of important ratios and trends and examining unusual fluctuations in and items. So basically in this analytical review he is going to understand the trends and ratios which is related to the firm. Next one is management representations. Now what is management representations? Okay, it provides the standard and guidance of use of management representations as a audit evidence. So basically the procedure is applied in evaluating and documenting the management representations and the action to be taken if management refuses to provide appropriate representation. Okay, so management representations is also act as a source of collecting audit evidence. Okay, now this is related to audit evidence. We have understand the meaning, we have understand the sources, and also the meaning and sources of audit evidence. Now, the next step is, or next point is, what is audit working paper? What is the meaning of audit working paper? So basically, audit evidence contains this audit working paper. Okay. Now, what is audit working paper? It is nothing but it's a document which contains. It is also a papers or document which consist the details about the accounts which are under audit. Okay. So they are written private materials such which an auditor prepares for each audit. Okay. That describes the accounting information. Okay, which is obtained from his client, and the method of examination used, his conclusions, and the financial statements. So this include this combined called as audit working paper. Now, what is the definition of audit working paper? So basically, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India insists on the preparation of keeping of adequate working papers. So basically, working papers must include audit program, all the queries which has been asked by the auditor, explanations given by the management or the company itself, schedule for important items like depreciation in inventories, and confirmation from the third parties. Third parties include debtors, creditors, and certificate issued by the management or bank, etc. This everything is included as a working paper. Okay. Now the next important thing is, what is the purpose of audit working paper? Why this audit working paper is required? Okay. The first thing is, working paper represents the volume of work performed by the auditor and its staff. Okay, it is nothing but it's a represent of the work, okay, which is performed by the auditor and his staff. Second thing is, various minute details and aspect of audit report can be well substantiated based on the findings summarized in the report. So various minute details or aspects of audit report. Okay, it is a very much helpful for a auditor, okay, for drafting his independent opinion. Then audit working paper becomes a valuable documentary or evidence for the auditor on the occasion when he defends himself against the charges of negligence. Basically, this working paper can also be helpful at a time of court. Okay, if a company files a suit against the auditor, then this working paper can be considered as a proof. Then they enable the auditor to coordinate and organize the audit clerk. Audit working paper is similar to audit program. Okay, so it helps the auditor to coordinate and organize the work of audit clerk. Then they enable the auditor to advise his clients regarding the improvement of the system of internal check and efficiency of the accounting system. So basically two things. It enables the auditor to understand the internal check and efficiency of accounting system. Next, they serve as a guide to the auditor. They serve as a guide to the auditor in subsequent examination and help the auditor to plan for the next year or succeeding year. Then they serve as a means to give training to the audit clerk to summarize the work done by them. So it helps the auditor to give the training to the audit clerk. Now, what are the contents of audit paper? What are the contents of audit paper? Now, Accounting and Excellence Standard 3, okay, states the working paper should be record the auditor's plan, the nature, the timing, and the extent of the procedures performed, and the conclusion drawn from the audit evidence. It is nothing but it is a working paper. Now, generally, the audit working papers consist of this following information. Okay, the schedule of debtors and creditors, then trial balance, certificates, then correspondence between the debtors and auditors, then investment schedules, confirmation, then details of cash balance check. Okay, this is the very generally included in audit working paper. Now, but in audit working paper, there are two files which the auditor has to be compulsorily maintained. One is called as permanent audit file and second one is called as current file. Okay. Now what is permanent audit file? It's a file contains of the paper continuing importance affecting the companies and the audit. Okay. So it's a file which contains a paper of continuing importance. Like for example, okay, basically the permanent audit file consists of these things. First thing is engagement letters, then new client questionnaire, the memorandum and articles of association, other legal documents such as prospectus, lease, sales, etc. Then details of history of the client business, basically the board meetings of continuing relevance, previous year signed accounts, okay, and accounting system notes, previous year control questionnaires, etc. So these are included in permanent audit file. Basically the purpose of this file is provide the background information about the company. So that's why all these documents will, you can see here, all these documents will help you to understand the background information about the company. Okay. The second one is current file. What is current file? So basically, the file which contains the working paper of the year under audit. The current file should include current year adjustment or the proposed and adjustment, significant audit findings, okay, of last year or this year, okay. Then current year audit working paper like risk assessment, audit sampling, audit analytical review, then internal control documents, etc. Then financial statements and audit report of the entity, which can be a previous financial statements and audit reports. Okay. Then trial balance and worksheets. Okay, of the entity. Okay, and queries of the auditor and replied received from the management. This can be also be included in the current file. Okay. Now sometimes there is always a question. Okay, this is the two. Permanent working file and current file. Okay, now we are moving forward. There is always a confusion between the management and the auditor that who is the owner of the audit working paper? Who is the owner of the audit working paper? Okay, so basically in this case, okay, Shokovansi and Bright Graham and Company, the audit paper belongs to the auditor, not to the client. The legal observation which has been given by the court, basically the working papers are belongs to the auditor, not to the client. As an auditor is an independent contractor and not the agent of the client. It's an independent contractor. We cannot say auditor as a agent of the client. Okay. Similarly, in Henry Martin company versus the Martin, okay, held that the working paper prepared by the auditor is the property of the auditor. So always, if there is a questions of ownership of audit working paper, okay, then the owner of the audit working paper is the auditor itself, not the client. Okay. The next is audit notebook. Next is audit notebook. Now, what is audit notebook? Audit notebook is the registered maintained by the audit staff, okay, to record the important point observed, error, doubtful queries, explanation, clarification to be received from the client. It also contains the definite information regarding day-to-day work performed by the audit clerk. Okay, so audit notebook is nothing but it will help you to understand what every day-to-day activities works are performed. Okay, then the notebook should be maintained clearly, completely and systematically. It serves as an authentic evidence in support of the work done to protect the auditor against any legal charge initiated against him for negligence. Basically, audit notebook, audit evidence, then audit program will help the auditor to take as a proof against him at a time of any client or any company file the suit against him. Okay, so now what is the purpose of this audit working paper? What is the purpose of audit working paper? First and foremost, to know about the nature of business. Okay, which business does the client falls, nature of business. Future audit work makes easier. Okay, in the future the auditor is going to understand how the audit has been conducted in the previous year, because future audit work is very easier. To know the fact where clarification and explanations are essential. So basically this will very much helpful at a time of sometimes the management is going to ask some clarifications or explanations. That time this audit notebook will help them to understand all the clarification and explanation. Then to take the list of debtors and creditors. Okay. Then to present as a proof by the auditor at a time of or auditors to clearance over the cases, or at a time of if a company files the case against him. Okay. Then detection and prevention of fraud effectively. Okay. So basically these are the purpose because of which audit notebook is very very important. Now moving further, what are the contents of audit notebook? What it contains? Okay. So audit notebook contains a list of account book normally used and maintained. Okay. Then name of the principal officer and their duties and responsibilities. Nature of business carried on and important documents relating to the constitution of business like memorandum of association, article of association and partnership deed. Then exec or extract of minutes and contracts affecting the accounts. Okay. Then correspondings with the statutory authorities. Then copy of audit program. These all are the content of audit notebook. Okay, the date of commencement and completion of audit, detail of all important information used as a reference of future audit, points to be included in audit report, etc. etc. Okay. Then next is what are the advantages of notebook? Okay, basically it facilitates the audit work, it helps in the audit work. Second, it helps in the preparation of audit report because it includes everything as we have discussed earlier. It serves as a documentary evidence at a time of if company files a case against the auditor. It serves as a guide to the auditor in the next audit which is going to conduct. Okay. Then it evaluates the work of audit staff. It helps in evaluating the work of audit staff. Then fixation of responsibilities is possible with the help of audit notebook, and no disclosure of the audit work. Then audit notebook contains all the important details about audit, hence any change in the audit staff will not disturb or dislocate the audit work. Now the important matter is here is nothing but you need to understand what is audit program, audit evidence, audit notebook. Okay, which is very very important in the point of view of examination. Now every time the auditor uses one concept called as routine checking. Okay, routine checking. Whether business big or small, the record of its daily transaction is kept in the books of accounts. The daily checking of these books of accounts under audit is called as routine checking, because this routine checking is very very important, because if the company firm is very much big in size, that time there will be a lot of transactions per day. That time the auditor get helps because of this routine checking. Usually this work is done by the junior staff of the auditor. Okay, the checking of such common records and books which is carried on by the auditor as a matter of routine is known as routine checking in auditing. This question can be asked for 4 marks. Okay, so basically what are the objectives of routine checking? To know the mathematical accuracy of the accounts. Okay, mathematical accuracy of the accounts. Then entries which has been made in the primary book. To know the regularity of accounting in the primary books of accounts. And third and very very important is to making use of distinct tick and marks to know that no changes are made in the figures after the check. Okay. Then something called as the next concept is audit sampling. Next concept is audit sampling. Now sometimes what happens if the firm is very big in size, that time this concept helps the audit to select some items. Okay. Now this audit sampling is the use of audit procedure on the selection of items with an account balance or class of transactions. Basically in audit sampling, if the organization or the company is much bigger in size, there will be crores of transactions. That time auditor can use this method to select some very important transaction and study on it and make the general conclusion in the audit report. So sampling method used should be yield an equal probability that each unit in the sample could be selected. The intent behind doing so is to evaluate some aspect of the information. Audit sampling is needed when population sizes are large, okay, as I have told you, when the transactions are large in size. Since the examining the entire population will be highly inefficient, there are multiple ways of doing audit sampling. Okay. Now the first one is judgment sampling. Now what is judgment sampling? You need to understand the meaning itself. Okay. Judgment sampling is where the auditor using its own experience and knowledge of the client business and circumstances and select the sample to be tested without use of any mathematical and statistical tool. In judgment sampling, the auditor is going to select such transaction based on his own experience and knowledge, where there is a much more chances of getting fraud and errors. Okay, so basically without using any mathematical or statistical tools, he is going to select certain transactions. Okay, that is called as judgmental sampling. Okay, and the second one is something called as statistical sampling. Okay, what is statistical sampling? It is nothing but here we are going to use some sort of statistical methods or mathematical methods. Okay, in statistical sampling we are going to use some mathematical methods. So basically this is very much acceptable and alternative to the judgmental sampling method. Okay, provided that the auditor knows how to use it. And second thing, in this method then auditor is going to select those transactions which can be understood only by the mathematics or the statistics, okay, without anything of his biasness. Okay, here the selection of transaction not depend upon him, so there is no biasness. Okay, so it completely depends upon the statistical tools what he is going to use. So there are two things, two sampling, auditing sampling method. First is judgmental sampling and second is statistical sampling. Okay. Then something called as one more method is called as test checking. Now what is test checking? Test checking in auditing means a checking of few transactions selected at a random sample or random form, a large number of transactions. Within the large number of transactions, we are going to select some transactions. That is called as test checking, and it is also known as selective verification or sampling process. Okay, so in this method it involves a partial checking. It is also called as partial checking. You are not going to check each and every transaction, but it depends upon the auditor itself. Okay, the next is in this test checking. Okay, it is nothing but it is a representative of number of entries on each class is selected and checked. If they found correct, it can be considered as all the entries which are registered or transactions which are there, they have no frauds and errors. So test checking is acceptable substitute for detailed checking. Okay, which is the most of the cases from economic point of view is unwarranted. Okay, so there are some advantages of test checking. The first one is it saves times and energy, because here you are going to select some few transactions and you are going to conclude based on them. If the selection of transactions is done intelligently, test checking is useful and purposeful. The volume of work is reduced here because you are going to select certain transactions, so the auditor can carry on many audits simultaneously. It helps the auditor to arrive at a definite conclusion in regards to true and fair view of the state of affairs of the concern. And next is, it helps in reducing the cost of audit. Okay, because there is no need to go for each and every transaction. Now, what is the disadvantage of test checking? It is not possible to detect all the frauds and errors. Secondly, clerk of the client may become careless because they want their work will be not to be checked in detail. So basically, it depends on the auditor which transaction is going to select. Other transactions will be not taken into consideration. Under test checking, all the auditor checks the whole of the work through test checking. Suspicion and doubt will remain in his mind. Basically, if auditor checks all the work with the help of selecting some few transactions, but at the end of the day, there will be always doubt of in the minds of the auditor, okay, because he has not selected all the transactions. Okay, if it is so, or if it is of no use, if proper effectiveness system or internal check and controls are not being adopted in business. Next is last concept is audit plan. Okay, so basically audit planning is we know that it's a vital area, very very important area. So it is conducted at the beginning of audit process. Okay, to ensure that the appropriate attention is devoted to important items or areas, potential problems, and promptly identified. Work is completed expeditiously and work is properly coordinated. Basically, audit planning is nothing but it means develop a general strategy, okay, and a detailed approach for the expected nature, timing, and extent of the audit. The auditor plans to perform the audit in a efficient and timely manner. For this purpose, audit plan is required. The audit plan is specifically a specific guideline to be followed while conducting an audit. So it helps the auditor to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence for the circumstances. It helps reduce the audit cost at reasonable level, and it helps to avoid the misunderstanding with the client. Okay, so basically in this audit plan, auditor is going to explain about the audit objectives. Okay, where will be the audit will be done, or its scopes, for how much time, okay, then who is the auditor, how will be the audit done, etc. These 6 questions or these 5 questions is going to ask in or answer in audit plan. Next is audit planning consists of 8 steps. Okay, it has 8 steps. The first step is accept the client and perform initial audit planning. Second thing is understand the client and business and industry. First is always accept the client and perform the initial audit planning. It's a starting stage, preliminary stage. Second thing is understand the client's business and industry, where that business falls. Next one is assess the client's business risk. Okay, how much risk he can bear or how much risk he has. Okay, then perform preliminary analytical procedures. Okay, then set materiality and assess the acceptable audit risk and inherent risk. Then understand the internal control system of the organization and gather all the information to assess fraud risk. And next one is develop overall audit plan and program. So these are 8 steps which is included in audit planning. Okay, so this is the first part of unit 3. Second part of unit 3 I am going to cover in the next